Music has always been a limitless creative space where stories and emotions are expressed through every note. However, there is a little-known truth in the world of music. Many famous Black artists who have helped shape the industry actually carry a part of themselves that they had to keep hidden throughout their careers. Today, we will explore 25 Black musicians you didn't know were LGBTQ+. The stories behind these legendary hits not only make us admire their talent, but also open a door to freedom and acceptance in an industry full of challenges. Ready to uncover the untold secrets? Stay tuned to this video. Were you surprised to learn that the musicians you love are also part of the LGBTQ+ community? Do you feel the freedom and acceptance reflected in their music? If you resonate with this story, leave a 1 in the comments. If you didn't know this fact, comment 0 and share your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the channel and get more fascinating stories. Little Richard not only helped shape American music, but also contributed to transforming the sound of the 20th century. Born on December 5, 1932, in Macon, Georgia, he grew up in a family with strong religious beliefs, where his rebellious nature clashed with the expectations of both his family and the church. At 15, he left home to perform on the road, carrying with him a voice that could cut through any noise, grabbing the attention of audiences. His breakout hit, Tutti Frutti, released in 1955, introduced a new sound, wild rhythms, and sensual energy, selling over 1 million copies and catapulting him to stardom. However, behind the spotlight, he was a man full of contradictions. Little Richard openly spoke about his relationships with men, especially in the 1980s and later in interviews in the 2000s. Yet he also condemned homosexuality, occasionally citing his religious beliefs as the reason for his views. This internal conflict haunted him throughout his life. He repeatedly abandoned music to pursue a career as a preacher, only to return to the stage, then walk away again. His struggle was not only a personal one, but also a reflection of cultural issues in the 1950s. Being a Black gay man in the entertainment industry meant risking everything for his career, safety, and even his life. Despite his immense influence on artists like Elvis Presley, James Brown, and the Beatles, who covered many of his songs, Little Richard was still marginalized by the music industry because of his expression of gender and race. Nevertheless, his legacy is undeniable. Little Richard was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1986 and received a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 1993. He passed away on May 9, 2020, at the age of 87 due to bone cancer. Although he never fully reconciled his public image with his private truths, his impact on shaping music and self-expression will forever be remembered. Before the LGBTQ+ pride community became an integral part of pop music charts, Sylvester made a significant mark under the bright lights of disco. Born Sylvester James Jr. on September 6, 1947 in Los Angeles, he grew up in a Pentecostal family and was deeply immersed in gospel music. However, from a young age, Sylvester identified as different, experimenting with makeup, singing in a falsetto, and confidently expressing his femininity, something that society at the time found baffling and even dangerous. He began performing with the pioneering drag group Cocket in San Francisco before officially embarking on a solo career in the mid-1970s. His breakthrough single, You Make Me Feel Mighty Real, released in 1978, became an instant anthem. The song combined gospel vocals with electronic disco music, reaching number 36 on the Billboard Hot 100. However, its impact went far beyond the charts and spread throughout the LGBTQ+ community, where it became an anthem of joy, freedom, and defiance. Coming out as gay and defying gender norms at that time could have ended his career, but Sylvester refused to hide who he was. He wore sequins-applied eyeliner and appeared on national television demanding creative control and asserting that his queer identity should be central to his public image. In a 1979 interview, he boldly declared, "I'm Sylvester. I'm a man. I'm not ashamed of anything." Although the music industry saw him as a novelty, Sylvester's second career phase was a remarkable success. His voice was compared to legends like Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle, yet mainstream radio kept its distance from him. After the spotlight faded, Sylvester witnessed many of his close friends succumb to the AIDS epidemic. He was diagnosed with HIV in 1986, and 2 years later he passed away on December 16, 1988, at the age of 41. Despite his passing, he continued to defy conventions. Sylvester left his estate to AIDS-related charities and requested that his ashes be scattered under a large pink flower as a tribute to Ma Rainey, who pioneered the recognition of a woman's voice in blues music. Before any record label recognized a woman's voice in blues, Ma Rainey filled tents and vaudeville halls with her powerful vocals. Born Gertrude Bridget on April 26, 1886 in Columbus, Georgia, Ma Rainey began her performing career as a teenager and later adopted the stage name Ma Rainey after marrying singer Will Rainey. However, her identity and legacy went far beyond this marriage. Ma Rainey was one of the first black women to professionally record music, and from 1923 to 1928, she recorded over 90 songs for Paramount Records, including hits like C.C. Rider and Beauville Blues. Her voice was raw, unrefined, and deeply Southern, capturing both the pain and strength of black working-class life. What set Ma Rainey apart wasn't just her music, but her bold personal life. She was widely known for her relationships with women, including rumors of affairs with female chorus members and other entertainers. In 1925, she recorded "Prove It on Me Blues," a clever response to rumors about her after being accused of hosting an all-female party. The lyrics boldly challenged social norms. "Last night I went out with my friends, they had to be women 'cause I don't like men." At a time when same-sex desire was taboo, especially for black women in the South, Ma Rainey boldly embraced her identity. She proudly adorned herself in sparkling gowns with gold teeth and led her own band. She was a boss in every room she entered, despite the rumors and judgment she faced. Ma Rainey retired in 1935 and passed away from heart failure on December 22, 1939, at the age of 53. Though often overshadowed by the men of her time, her influence on music and culture can still be deeply felt across generations. Bessie Smith didn't just seek attention, she demanded it. Born in Chattanooga, Tennessee on April 15, 1894, she overcame poverty to become one of the highest-paid black entertainers of the 1920s. Bessie's voice was powerful, rich, and unapologetic, full of raw humanity, embodying the very essence of blues music. Known as the Empress of the Blues, Smith signed with Columbia Records in 1923, and her debut album, Downhearted Blues, sold over 780,000 copies, cementing her status as a musical icon. Bessie didn't just dominate the stage. She lived a rough, complicated life, much like the lyrics she sang. She was known for having relationships with both men and women. Accounts from that time, including those of her granddaughter Ruby Walker, describe Bessie as a woman who loved fiercely and unapologetically. Her sexual orientation was an open secret within the vaudeville community, although her marriage to bodyguard Jack G was tainted by infidelity on both sides. Bessie Smith quickly defended herself when it was reported that she had beaten up a group of relatives for disrupting one of her performances. When blues legend Ma Rainey found herself in legal trouble, Bessie was said to have used her influence to protect her. Her career declined during the Great Depression as musical tastes shifted, but her legacy never faded. Bessie Smith died in a car accident on September 26, 1937, at the age of 43. False rumors that she had been denied medical care due to her race after her death were later debunked, yet they highlighted the way society treated Black women, even musical legends. Billy Strayhorn may not be a household name for everyone, but he shaped the sound of American jazz more than most. Born on November 29, 1915 in Dayton, Ohio, and raised in Pittsburgh, Strayhorn was a talented pianist and a master composer. He became the closest collaborator of Duke Ellington, co-writing and arranging many of the most enduring works in jazz history. His most famous composition, Take the A-Train, became Ellington's signature tune. Strayhorn also co-wrote or arranged for many of Ellington's major works, including Lush Life, Chelsea Bridge, and Satin Doll. While Ellington thrived in the spotlight, Strayhorn often stayed behind the scenes. At that time, being openly gay was not only taboo but also dangerous, especially for a Black man in America during the 1940s. Strayhorn never denied his identity and lived quietly with his partner, leading a life of dignity. Despite Ellington's unwavering support and protection in an industry that often sidelined gay talent, Strayhorn still paid the price of invisibility. He was rarely given equal recognition despite composing entire pieces on his own. Strayhorn's compositions, like Lush Life, reflected the pain, longing, and isolation of deeply real emotions of a human being. He was also an active participant in the civil rights movement, working with Lena Horne and supporting Martin Luther King Jr. Billy Strayhorn passed away on May 31, 1967, from esophageal cancer at the age of 51. Later, Duke Ellington composed an entire album in his honor, and Strayhorn's mother referred to him as Bill. Frankie Knuckles was not just a DJ, he was the creator of a musical movement. Born on January 18, 1955 in the Bronx, New York, Knuckles would later become known worldwide as the father of house music. However, his legacy lies not only in the rhythms he created, but also in the sense of liberation he fostered. In the late 1970s, Knuckles moved to Chicago and began playing music at a club called The Warehouse. It was here in the vibrant musical space and the nightlife of the Black and LGBTQ+ communities that house music was born. The music became not just a genre, but a safe space for gay people, especially Black men, to express themselves freely. Frankie Knuckles' music became a sanctuary from a world filled with rejection, discrimination, and fear. He blended disco, soul, and gospel with extended instrumental edits, creating upbeat, hypnotic soundscapes that could carry on until dawn. Remixes like Your Love and other tracks like Baby Wants to Ride were not only club hits, but also carried political messages about sexuality, religion, and civil rights. Openly gay throughout his life, Knuckles never sought dramatization or theatrics. He let his music speak for itself. Knuckles was one of the few openly Black gay men in the music industry to gain widespread recognition without having to hide his identity. In 1997, he became the first person to win the Grammy Award for Remixer of the Year Non-Classical. By 2004, the city of Chicago named a street after him in honor of his influence on music and the community. Frankie Knuckles passed away from complications related to diabetes on March 31, 2014, at the age of 59. His funeral was attended by artists, activists, and fans who saw him not only as a DJ but also as a spiritual leader and a revolutionary figure in the music industry. Johnny Mathis's voice is one of the most recognizable in American pop music. Born on September 30th, 1935 in Gilmer, Texas, and raised in San Francisco, he began singing classical music as a teenager before transitioning to pop. With romantic lyrics, a smooth tenor voice, and a clean-cut image, Mathis became a star by the late 1950s. He remained a fixture in pop music for decades, with hits like Chances Are Misty and It's Not For Me to Say. Mathis has sold over 360 million records worldwide, making him one of the best-selling artists of all time. However, despite the millions who loved his songs, very little was known about Johnny Mathis's private life. In a 1982 interview with Us magazine, he briefly acknowledged that he was gay, stating, "Homosexuality is a way of life that I've grown accustomed to." The article caused a stir, and the statement was quickly retracted, reportedly due to public pressure. It wasn't until the early 2000s that Mathis publicly reaffirmed his sexuality without taking it back. Mathis explained that during the height of his fame, coming out as gay could have destroyed his career. "It was something you just didn't talk about," he shared in a 2017 interview. Even so, Johnny Mathis never gave in to bitterness. He continued performing well into his 80s, received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2003, and was inducted into the Great American Songbook Hall of Fame. His career stands not only as a testament to remarkable longevity, but also as a reflection of the emotional pain of having to hide one's true self in order to survive. When Luther Vandross sang, the world seemed to pause and listen. Born on April 20th, 1951 in New York City, Vandross rose from a background singer to become one of the most iconic voices in R&B. His tone was silky smooth, and his heartfelt delivery of songs like Never Too Much Here and Now and Dance With My Father made him a household name, earning him 4 Grammy Awards in 2004 alone. Yet behind the rich melodies and chart-topping ballads was a man who carried a deeply personal secret for decades. Luther Vandross never publicly discussed his sexual orientation despite long-standing speculation. Close friends like Patti LaBelle and Bruce Vilanch have confirmed that he was gay, but Vandross himself never spoke about it. Some believe he feared losing his predominantly female fan base or didn't want to disappoint his devout family. Others point to the cultural stigma that a black gay man in the R&B world faced during the 1980s and 1990s. Whatever the reason, the emotional toll of staying silent was very real. Vandross admitted to feeling deeply lonely, and many of his heartfelt songs reflect a sense of unfulfilled love. When he suffered a stroke in 2003, he was in the middle of working on new music. Though he initially showed signs of recovery, he passed away on July 1st, 2005 at the age of 54. His legacy of timeless love songs helped millions feel seen and understood, but his own pain and longing often went unspoken. Luther Vandross gave the world a soundtrack for romance, yet he may never have lived as freely as he deserved. Meshel Ndegeocello is an artist who defies categorization. Born Michelle Lynn Johnson on August 29, 1968 in Berlin, Germany, and raised in Washington, D.C., she adopted the stage name Meshel Ndegeocello, which means free like a bird in Swahili, and that's exactly how she has lived her musical and personal truth. She first gained attention in the early 90s when her debut album, Plantation Lullabies, shook the music industry with its bold fusion of funk, soul, hip-hop, and jazz. But it wasn't just her music that made waves. Her unwavering honesty did too. Openly bisexual from the start of her career, Meshel challenged expectations around race, gender, and political resistance. Songs like Leviticus directly confronted homophobia, sparking controversy and facing radio bans. Meshel never backed down. she refused to dilute her truth to appeal to the mainstream. Her second album, Peace Beyond Passion, earned a Grammy nomination and cemented her reputation as one of the most fearless voices in music. She has openly spoken about feeling not fully accepted by mainstream black music circles or the predominantly white indie scenes. Her androgynous presentation, genre-defying sound, and radical honesty have made her an outsider in many places, but also a trailblazer. Over her long career, she has received 10 Grammy nominations and collaborated with artists like Madonna, John Mellencamp, and Robert Glasper. Perhaps her greatest achievement is the space she has created for black queer women to express themselves freely. As she once said, "I don't care about fitting into boxes, I want to blow them up." Frank Ocean didn't release a title, he released a letter. Born Christopher Edwin Breaux on October 28, 1987 in Long Beach, California, Frank Ocean initially built his reputation as a songwriter for artists like Beyoncé and Justin Bieber before breaking through with his critically acclaimed mixtape Nostalgia Ultra in 2011. But in July 2012, just days before the release of his debut studio album Channel Orange Ocean, posted a heartfelt open letter on Tumblr recounting his first love, a young man. The music world, especially the hip-hop and R&B communities, stood still. No major black male artist in those genres had ever made such a statement at the peak of their career. Some praised him for his bravery, while others questioned the timing and motives behind it. But Ocean's confession was simply the truth. He later said, "I needed to have this set in stone before I released the album." Channel Orange debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 and won the Grammy for Best Urban Contemporary Album. Songs like Bad Religion and Thinking About You took on new meaning following his revelation. Suddenly, the longing in his lyrics had a face the industry rarely acknowledged. Ocean became more reclusive, rarely giving interviews, but his next album, Blonde 2016, was an intimate experiment hailed as a masterpiece. He built a loyal fan base that not only respected his artistry, but also connected deeply with his quiet defiance. Frank Ocean never labeled himself, he never needed to. Simply by speaking his truth, he carved out space for a new kind of masculinity in music, vulnerable, reflective, and free. Frank Ocean doesn't just make music, he creates space. A space for honesty, for vulnerability, for a new kind of masculinity. If you've ever felt that too, share your story. Help spread the message of freedom and truth. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if Frank's music has ever moved you. And don't forget to subscribe for more artists who break boundaries just like Frank Ocean. Janelle Monáe didn't just break into music, she arrived like an encoded transmission from the future. Born on December 1, 1985 in Kansas City, Kansas, Monáe emerged with a bold aesthetic, black and white suits, cinematic concepts, and sci-fi albums that masked deeper messages. Her early works like Metropolis The Chase Suite 2007 and The Arch-Android 2010 told the story of Cindy Mayweather, a time-traveling android rebel fighting against societal oppression. The metaphor in these works is clear. Monáe was creating an alternate world where queerness, race, and gender could be reimagined and protected. For years, she avoided personal questions about her sexuality, saying she wanted the focus to stay on her art. However, in 2018, just before releasing her album Dirty Computer, she came out as pansexual in an interview with Rolling Stone, saying, "I consider myself a free-ass mother whore." Dirty Computer became a bold celebration of black womanhood, sexual fluidity, and rebellion, with tracks like Make Me Feel and Pink becoming new queer anthems. These songs were both defiant and deeply referential, nodding to icons like Prince and Grace Jones. The album not only earned a Grammy nomination for Album of the Year, but it also came with an emotional visual experience that blended Afrofuturism with LGBTQ+ politics. Monai's impact extends far beyond music. She's a vocal advocate for non-binary and queer rights, climate justice, and racial equality. In 2022, she publicly came out as non-binary and began using both she, her, and they, them pronouns. Her journey reflects the evolving public language around gender and identity and proves that her presence in mainstream pop shows the audience is ready for that evolution. Lil Nas X didn't just go viral, he rewrote the rules of fame. Born Montero Lamar Hill on April 9, 1999, in Lithia Springs, Georgia, he was an internet-savvy teen when he released Old Town Road in 2019. The song, a blend of country and trap, quickly soared to #1 and broke the record with 19 weeks atop the Billboard Hot 100. At the height of Old Town Road's success, Lil Nas X tweeted on June 30, 2019, subtly hinting at his sexuality. Some of y'all already know, some of y'all don't care, but before this month ends, I want y'all to really listen to C7OR in the lyrics he wrote. This message hinted at self-acceptance and living authentically. Critics and fans quickly realized he had come out as gay, sending shockwaves through the hyper-masculine conservative worlds of hip-hop and country music. Some praised his courage, while others mocked and tried to undermine him. Yet Lil Nas X continued to embrace his freedom and bravery with Montero Call Me By Your Name, where he not only acknowledged his queerness, but celebrated it unapologetically, with imagery of dancing with demons and descending into hell. He confronted the religious shame he grew up with, but fans found a sense of catharsis in his openness. Sid of the Internet doesn't shout her truth, she sings it softly. Born Michelle Lynn Johnson on April 23, 1992 in Los Angeles, Sid first gained attention as part of the alternative hip-hop collective Odd Future, where her calm, reserved style contrasted with the group's chaotic energy. She later stepped into the spotlight as the lead vocalist of the internet and R&B band. Their debut album, Ego Death 2015, earned a Grammy nomination for Best Urban Contemporary Album. Sid stands out for openly embracing her identity as a black queer woman in R&B, a genre long dominated by heterosexual love songs and male-driven narratives. She centers queer desire in her music without flash or apology. Her solo album, Fin 2017, is a revelation with songs like Body and All About Me that go beyond love. They're gentle affirmations of confidence and honesty, especially for black queer women. Sid has never publicly labeled her sexuality because her music speaks for itself. She has always prioritized artistry and creativity over chart success, which is why she built her own studio early in her career. She stands as a testament to independence and control in an industry that often sidelines black queer women. Kevin Abstract never waited for permission. Born Clifford Ian Simpson on July 16, 1996 in Corpus Christi, Texas, he co-founded Brockhampton, the self-described boy band that redefined the boundaries of hip-hop and challenged its masculinity. Kevin came out as gay early in his career and made it clear that his music would reflect that truth. At a time when hip-hop was still grappling with openly queer voices, his presence was groundbreaking. He didn't just show up, he led with albums like Saturation, Iridescence, and Ginger. His songs are raw and vulnerable, exploring identity denial and longing with emotional honesty. Junkie is a clear example directly confronting fear and homophobia within the hip-hop community. Kevin didn't hide his queerness. He made it central to Brockhampton's identity, breaking the mold of traditional hip-hop narratives. Despite facing anxiety, isolation, and emotional vulnerability, Kevin continued to assert his identity through DIY visuals and digital platforms. He released solo projects like Arizona Baby and collaborated with other queer artists, expanding his influence while constantly challenging norms in the music industry. Tyler. The creator never asked to be understood. Born Tyler Gregory Okonma on March 6, 1991, in Hawthorne, California, he burst onto the scene with Bastard in 2009, a mixtape that played like a burning diary. He was a founding member of Odd Future, a shock rap collective that fused skate culture horror and suburban chaos into something raw and entirely new. Beneath the provocation, though, was an artist evolving in real time. Tyler's early lyrics were controversial, often accused of being misogynistic and homophobic. In fact, he was even banned from entering the UK in 2015 due to the content of his songs. But as his music matured, so did the themes. With Flower Boy 2017, fans noticed a shift. Lyrics like "I've been kissing white boys since 2004" weren't jokes. They were sincere confessions wrapped in Tyler's signature irony. He wasn't just acknowledging queerness, he was embracing it with a surprising level of vulnerability and honesty. The album Igor 2019 is entirely focused on telling the story of heartbreak caused by another man. This album won the Grammy for Best Rap Album and marked a turning point in public perception of Tyler. He no longer hides behind the metaphors he used to create. Tyler challenges labels, often responding to questions about his sexual orientation with sarcasm or evasiveness, sometimes identifying with queerness. This ambiguity can disappoint some people, but it is also his strength. He doesn't explain himself. He creates his own fashion image and sound, redefining the boundaries of masculinity in hip-hop. Big Freedia didn't invent bounce music, but she brought the genre to the global stage. Born Freddie Ross Jr. on January 28, 1978 in New Orleans, she grew up in a Baptist family singing in the church choir, but her true voice began to shine in the city's underground clubs. Bounce, a high-energy hip-hop style, created space for the Black and queer communities to express themselves and exist, and Freedia was a pioneer in making that happen. As a queer artist who defies gender norms, Big Freedia boldly blends femininity, masculinity, and Southern pride. Her career took off in the early 2000s with underground hits like Gin and My System and Ass Everywhere. However, it wasn't until the 2010s that mainstream audiences began to take notice. Her reality TV show, Big Freedia Queen of Bounce 2013, elevated her and New Orleans bounce culture to a whole new level, not just for the music but also for the LGBTQ+ scene in New Orleans. Freedia collaborated with Beyoncé on the song Break My Soul 2022, further cementing her influence on contemporary pop music. Despite her rise, she has faced challenges with some critics labeling her as over the top or a novelty. She has also dealt with personal hardships, including the loss of her mother and a legal issue related to housing assistance. Nevertheless, she consistently uses her platform to advocate for awareness around inclusion, HIV, AIDS, and justice for minority communities. Santana didn't have an easy path into rap music. Born Justin Harris on October 8, 1993 in Bridgeport, Connecticut, he started his career as a makeup artist for the rap duo City Girls. However, his confident personality and distinctive voice quickly took over the spotlight. In 2019, he released Walk Like a Dog, a track he produced himself that quickly became a TikTok sensation. Santana challenges the overly rigid standards of masculinity in hip-hop while openly embracing his identity as a gay man and pursuing high fashion. With songs like Material Girl and Walk Santana has proven he's not just here to entertain, but to change the game. He has also become a cultural figure beyond music with a strong presence on social media. However, his rise hasn't been without pushback. Some of his old tweets sparked controversy, and he has faced online hate often rooted in homophobia and misogyny. Still, Santana hasn't toned down his charisma. He has performed at major festivals, collaborated with artists like Madonna, and signed with RCA Records in 2022. His presence has opened up new conversations about gender expression and black queerness in hip-hop. McConowan, also known as I Love McConowan, was never meant to fit the mold. Born on April 12, 1989 in Los Angeles and raised in Atlanta, McConowan blended the melodies and moods of rap long before it became a trend. In 2014, his breakthrough single Tuesday, featuring Drake, became an international hit and a Grammy-nominated song that redefined the sound of rap. McConowan stood on the brink of mainstream fame, but 2 years later he did something few hip-hop artists have done. Especially at his level, in January 2017, he came out as gay in a tweet. He said, "I can't speak for other people's closets, I can only speak for mine, and it's time for me to come out and respond." The move sparked mixed reactions. While some fans and media praised his courage, McConowan shared that the industry's attitude toward him changed. Collaborations dried up, label support stalled, and some peers quietly distanced themselves. McConowan said he felt unsupported after coming out, and at times, his sexual orientation was used as an excuse to block him from key opportunities. Instead of backing down, McConowan doubled down on his independence. He released music on his own terms, exploring deeper themes like isolation, mental health, and resilience, while continuing to build a fan base that appreciates his transparency. Serpent with Feet, born Josiah Wise on July 9, 1988 in Baltimore, Maryland, grew up in a devout family and received classical music training. He always stood out, but it wasn't until later, through his poetic experimental R&B lyrics and visual performances, that he found his voice. His debut EP in 2016, Blisters, produced by his collaborator Burke, aka the Haxan Cloak, introduced the world to a genre-defying sound with haunting orchestration and deep emotion. With albums like Soil 2018 and Deacon 2021, Serpent with Feet created a new sacred space where black queer love is not whispered or hidden, but celebrated. Songs like Blesser's Heart, Same Size Shoe, and Cherubim celebrate tenderness between men using religious imagery not to condemn, but to elevate desire, intimacy, and joy. His work is not only brave art, but also a celebration of a bold, sometimes surreal Baroque aesthetic earning praise from critics. However, his explicit erotic portrayals of black queer love can still make some audiences uncomfortable. Serpent with Feet doesn't perform to comfort. He performs to liberate, saying, "I want to write songs that make black gay men feel seen, not studied." Cakes Tequila never waited for permission to exist in rap music. Born Rashard Bradshaw on October 28, 1990 in New Jersey, he rose through the queer underground rap scene in the early 2000s, a time when being openly gay in hip-hop was still seen as career suicide. But Cakes didn't just come out. He kicked down the door, blending battle rap confidence with club-ready beats. His debut mixtape, The Eulogy 2013, was praised by outlets like Pitchfork for its sharp lyrics, relentless flow, and commanding presence. Cakes didn't want to be heard as a novelty or an icon. He wanted to be respected as a force. Songs like Goody Goodies and Dondada leave nothing hidden. He conveys desire, power, and nightlife through a distinctly queer lens, and though he's often caught between two worlds, too queer for hip-hop gatekeepers and too raw for mainstream pop polish, he has carved out a space for fearless authenticity. His album Svengali 2022 is a deep exploration of love, shame, and emotional control, and while it hasn't topped the charts, his impact is undeniable. Tequila doesn't want acceptance. He wants respect, and he's earned it. A talented and bold artist, Tequila continues to expand his influence in music and the LGBTQ+ community. Mickey Blanco is not just a rapper. They are a movement. Born Michael David Quattlebaum Jr. on April 2, 1986 in Orange County, California, Blanco emerged in the early 2000s, blending poetry, performance art, punk, and experimental hip-hop into something unclassifiable and unforgettable. Identifying as gender fluid and using they, I, them, and she, her pronouns, Mickey became one of the first artists to blur the lines between gender expression and confidence in rap. Early mixtapes like Cosmic Angel and Gay Dog Food delivered chaotic, vibrant tracks with lyrics that were both defiant and highly performative. In 2015, Mikey publicly revealed their HIV-positive status, an almost unprecedented move in the music industry at the time. I realized I had nothing to be ashamed of, they shared. That announcement didn't end their career. It deepened their purpose. The album Mikey 2016 marked a turning point, more melodic and introspective, yet still featuring intense tracks like High School Never Ends and Loner, showing an artist who is healing but refuses to shrink for others' comfort. They have performed worldwide, collaborated with Madonna, and are known for redefining hip-hop and queerness on stage. Blanco's performances are confrontational and often cathartic, theatrical, with makeup wigs and combat boots. They channel anger, joy, trauma, and strength through their own body, a protest in motion. They also openly criticize the industry for exploiting queer artists without real support. Don't call me brave, pay me, Blanco has said. The album Broken Hearts and Beauty Sleep 2021 continues to break boundaries, blending rap, dance, and vulnerability, proving that Mickey is still reinventing hip-hop more than a decade later. Zebra Cats didn't enter hip-hop. He came from a dark corner of the art world, bringing something the genre rarely sees. Born O.J. Morgan on March 15, 1987 in West Palm Beach, Florida, Cats studied performance art before recording any music. His breakthrough moment came in 2012 when designer Rick Owens used his track Ima Reed in a fashion show in Paris. The song is minimal, menacing, and utterly queer, repeating haunting rap lines, Ima read that. Zebra Cats draws on dance culture sharp history and has redefined black queer expression in hip-hop. However, mainstream radio didn't quite know what to do with him. Cats' music blends trap, industrial techno, and spoken word elements, as heard in his intense experimental and political albums Less Is More 2020 and Black Widow 2023. He delves into isolation, overexposure, and being idolized as a black gay man. Despite working with Gorillaz and Busta Rhymes, Cats remains caught between art world acclaim and mainstream indifference. People want me to give them a song that's not my story, he once said. But Cats continues to push a queer image, abstract lyrics, and whispered to screamed vocals that are never predictable. Before queer rap became a trend, L.E.1.F. laid the groundwork. Born Khalif Diouf on April 6, 1989 in Manhattan, L.F. emerged from New York's underground music scene, blending electronic beats, dance styles, and unapologetically queer storytelling. A trained dancer and Yale graduate, L.F. brings precision and power to both his lyrics and image. His breakthrough track, What 2012, caused a sensation not just for its bold rap, but also for the image of a black gay man wearing shorts, twerking in heels, and rapping naturally about men. L.F. quickly challenged hypocrisy in the music industry, criticizing how Macklemore was praised for his support of gay people, while black queer artists were ignored. He isn't afraid to call names and speak out publicly. Mixtapes like Fly Zone and Treehouse blend aggression, humor, and vulnerability. The album Riot Boy 2015 is an experimental project featuring collaborations with Dev Hynes, Sophie, and Jungle Pussy. Despite his significant influence, L.F. has never received mainstream recognition proportional to his impact. Record labels didn't know how to market him, and his image was considered too uncomfortable for rap stereotypes. But he never compromised and never forgot that black queer creativity is often borrowed, diluted, and repackaged without credit. Moor Mother doesn't make music to soothe. She makes music to awaken. Born Kamai Ayewa on November 19, 1979 in Aberdeen, Maryland, she is a poet, experimental musician, and political activist. Operating at the crossroads of hip-hop, punk noise, and Afrofuturism, she uses art as a weapon shield and memory. Her debut album, Fetish Bones 2016, is a sonic manifesto, screams field recordings, and spoken-word poetry that feels like a rebellious prayer. Subsequent works like Analog Fluids of Sonic Black Holes continue to explore jazz codes, black science fiction, and deep collaborations with the Black Quantum Futurism Collective. Moor Mother doesn't rap about clubs or love. She raps about ancestral trauma, police violence, capitalism, gender-based violence, and the distortion of time. She rejects binaries, deconstructs form, and challenges her audience. As a lecturer at the University of Southern California and having performed at the Whitney Biennial Berlin Jazz Festival, and Tate Modern Moor Mother isn't topping the charts, but her influence spreads widely across music, academia, politics, and underground art. Kaytranada doesn't need lyrics to speak his truth. He lets the beats do the talking. Born Louise Kevin Celeste Stein on August 25, 1992 in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and raised in Montreal, Canada, became one of the most respected producers and DJs of the 2010s, with a sound that blends funk, hip-hop, R&B, and house. He breathed new life into global dance culture. His debut album, 99.9%, 2016, won the Polaris Music Prize and featured collaborations with Anderson .Paak, Craig David, and Aluna George. But his journey isn't just about music, it's about identity. In 2016, at the height of his early success, Kaytranada came out as gay in an interview with Fader. He revealed that he had struggled with depression, loneliness, and imposter syndrome issues, worsened by hiding his sexual orientation in an industry that isn't always kind to gay men, especially those working behind the scenes. He admitted that touring while keeping his identity a secret was one of the most stressful experiences he's ever had. "It was hard for me to be proud," he said at the time, "but things are getting better." His 2019 album, Bubba, took that evolution even further. It won the Grammy for Best Dance Electronic Album and showcased the joyful queerness of blackness in every beat. Collaborators like Kali Uchis and Felix didn't just lend their voices, they brought light. The album isn't about coming out. It exists in freedom that follows within a DJ culture that's traditionally been straight. Kaytranada didn't just show up, he dominated. His influence can be heard everywhere, from underground shows to fashion runways to his signature remixes on the radio. Kitanada proves that sometimes you don't have to shout to change the room. A rhythm alone can move the world. These 25 black artists didn't just break musical barriers, they redefined what it means to be seen, heard, and loved in a world that often silences difference. Their stories are courageous, complex, and far from over. Which artist from today's list impressed you the most? Drop their name in the comments below. Do you think the music industry has truly changed to listen to and embrace difference? Comment "changed" if you believe it has, or "still a lot to do" if you think it hasn't done enough yet. And don't forget today's interactive question. Do you have any LGBTQ+ friends around you? If yes, leave a 1. If not, comment 0. Enjoy the video. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel and help spread these untold stories.